So once again, everybody, welcome to our MIC monthly meditation here for February in 2022. Thank you for being with us. We're so honored to have with us a friend of the Interfaith Council, Reverend David Gregory, who is an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ and pastor of Community Congregation Church in Tiburon, where he's been serving for the past 4 years. Previous ministries have taken him to Indiana, Pennsylvania, and upstate New York, and later to the Hudson Valley in New York City. He completed his theological studies at Colgate Rochester Crozer Divinity School, trained as a spiritual director at Linwood Spiritual Center in Rhinebeck, New York, and as a mediator with the Lombard Mennonite Peace Center. He's a Quaker by birthright, and his spiritual journey has been widely varied and infused with many faith and spiritual traditions. He has 2 adult sons who live in upstate New York, along with their families, including 3 grandchildren. He's married to Tripp Hansen, former Broadway performer, acupuncturist, and currently a transformational coach. And they make their home in Novato. And David, we are so thrilled to have you with us tonight. And just your presence in our community is a shining light. Thank you for your offering tonight in advance. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you, Scott, and thank you, everyone. I really, really appreciate the outpouring and just seeing everybody pour onto this screen tonight. It's great to see familiar faces and see some folks that I've never met before, and I'm kind of taking note, and I think there's some introductions I need to make after this is over. So great to see all of you. I have not been terribly active in these attending these Wednesday night meditations lately. I used to, back in the old days, BC, before COVID, I used to come to a lot of them in person, and like so many things, we've just our lives have been reshuffled and reordered, and now I feel like I'm sort of coming out of the shell again and starting to reconnect with some of the communities that have been so important over the times that I have been here. As Scott said, we've been here about 4 years, and I will just say a bit about the meditation this evening. And for those of you who are from my congregation, some of it will be a little redundant, but you'll forgive me for that. As Scott said, I began my journey in a Quaker community in Southern Ohio. And it's interesting how, beginning with my teenage years, and I ended up in a Methodist youth group, and then I went to a Baptist college, and then I was an ordained Baptist minister, and then my journey has taken me a lot of different places. So I basically can root my journey or map my journey through Quakerism, Methodism, varieties of Baptist congregations, and Presbyterian. And for the last 15 years, I've been an authorized minister in the United Church of Christ. I was ordained 39 years ago, and it seems impossible for me to even say that out loud, but it's the truth. And what's interesting to me, especially in this meditation journey, and my own spiritual practice, my own journey, which I have to say it's deepened in the last 2 years in ways that I never really, I could not have predicted. And like so many of you, spiritually speaking, it's been a roller coaster, lots of ups and downs, discouragements, sometimes just some dark nights of the soul. And but the gift of this entire time has been that my own spiritual practice and my own practice of meditation has deepened. And when I say that, I want to make sure that you understand that what I'm not saying is that it's become more complex. If anything, it has just become simpler. I used to, follow this guru for a while and then that one and then that one. And somebody, people would add pieces to it. And so one of the reasons I bring up my origins in the Quaker tradition is that, interestingly, after all of this time and after all of these different places that I've been, I've kind of come back to right where I started. And that was as a toddler, uh, kind of wedged up against my grandma on a bench in the Quaker meeting house, where I just thought everyone was quiet. I thought all children were quiet. I wasn't given an option. And I just remember the wonderful feeling of being kind of wedged up against her in the meeting, and um, she would have the peppermints already unwrapped, so she wouldn't make noise doing that. And as the silence would begin, then she'd hand me that peppermint, and that would sort of be my signal. Okay, I'm just going to sit here and be silent. But what I remember the most is that is the feeling that I had, in a bodily sensation that I had as I realized that she was about ready to get up and speak. It was in the Quaker meeting. There would be this opportunity to listen for the voice of the divine within. And I can still remember literally feeling this spiritual energy in her as she was prompted then to get up and to speak. We're not going to have a Quaker meeting here today. I don't feel qualified, and I don't feel like that's our purpose here, but it's just to let you know that what we're after here today is not to teach any complex system of meditation. I'm not even going to intimate that there is a right or a wrong way to do it. Because what's happened to me, especially in the last 2 years, is I've learned to practice this this presence in a way that has just gotten simpler and simpler and simpler. For example, many times in the early morning, I will come into the living room in my house and I will listen to the heater. And as I'm listening to the heater, it's giving me an opportunity to sort of suspend my thoughts. And sometimes it's the heater, sometimes it's the garbage truck down the street, sometimes it's my own breath. Most of the time, it's my own breath that keeps me focused in a way that I'm realizing that this is my present moment. Something that my parishioners hear from me often is that uh, I like to say, and I begin so many of our times together with the words, we cannot change the past, and so we release our regrets from the past, and we release all of our anxieties around the future, because all of our life is lived within the present moment. So when my mind is going, when my mind is activated, it's usually in the form of anxieties or regrets. And if I can get in a space where I can let both of those things go and just be present, it's my personal belief that there is divinity within each of us, not just within each of us, in every cell of our bodies, in every cell of everything around us, every atom, every hummingbird, every squirrel that's climbing the trees. There is divinity within all of it, and if we can stop long enough and become present, we can contact that, and we can begin to receive from it. And it's that reception that I think some people like to use the language of vibrational energy. We can call it whatever we want, we all have our own experience of it and perhaps our own way of forming words around it, if there are words that are even possible. So, what we're going to do tonight is simply ask you, we're going to take a few deep breaths at the beginning. I'm going to share a brief reading. And at the end of that reading, I'm going to sound the bell, and we'll begin from the time of that reading. We will begin about 20 minutes of silence. And in this silence, I would invite you, or I would encourage you to pay attention, just give your attention to whatever it is in your environment. Like right now, if I close my eyes and I give my attention to my environment, I hear about 7 different clocks ticking in different places in my apartment. And I can begin to let go. There'll be many times during 20 minutes where we find that our minds have drifted either to the past or to the future. And all I want to say about that is you didn't do anything wrong. You have a human brain, and you live within conditions that all humans live in. And we do have things to do tomorrow, and we do have concerns about what happened in the past. But right now, we're just here. We're just here. So I invite you into presence. I invite you to find whatever it is that connects you with the present moment. And don't try too hard. Just allow yourself. Allow yourself the capacity to breathe as deeply and as slowly as possible, and just follow it, follow it, follow it. Let's begin with one deep breath. And once again, I want to begin with some words from John O'Donohue. And this is his blessing for presence. Awaken to the mystery of being here and enter the quiet immensity of your own presence. Have joy and peace in the temple of your senses. Receive encouragement when new frontiers beckon. Respond to the call of your gift and the courage to follow its path. Let the flame of anger free you from all falsity. May warmth of heart keep your presence aflame. May anxiety never linger about you. May your outer dignity mirror an inner dignity of soul. Take time to celebrate the quiet miracles that seek no attention. Be consoled in the secret symmetry of your soul. May you experience each day as a sacred gift woven around a heart of wonder. Let's just take a few moments quietly, finding our breath, finding our feet on the floor, locating ourselves in the room in which we're sitting. Before I turn it over to Scott, I just want to say that if someone were to ask me what is the most important consideration in the practice of meditation, I would answer that by saying the most important thing is to be kind to yourself. I work with people a lot of the time, some of whom will say to me, I just can't sit still, or I can't get my mind to be still. And I always like to say that if you, in that 20-minute time period, if you had 15 seconds where you were able to open that window of receptivity and become fully present, if you do that once or a couple of times, or maybe even 3 times during that 20-minute time period, those are windows that can always be opened wider. The more we practice, the more I don't want to use the word focus, the more receptive we become. It can be the beginning of a practice that will deepen our spiritual journey, no matter what our religious or spiritual background. So be kind to yourself. And I'm going to leave it there and turn it back to Scott now.